On the show today, we talk to a man who doesn't know the meaning of the word no. A successful professional turned entrepreneur. We are in conversation with Dr. Rana Kapoor, CEO and Managing Director of Yes Bank, the fastest growing bank in the country. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Let's trace your journey. You were a professional, you turned into an entrepreneur, and today, as I said, the fastest growing bank in the country and fourth largest private bank. What's your journey been like?
You know, the journey has been absolutely fantastic. I don't, complain about any parts of it, even though there were some bumps on the way. From the time that I worked as a professional executive for almost 18 years, and then having turned into a major, I became an entrepreneur, a professional entrepreneur, way back in 1998. And it's been basically a roller coaster ride. At the same time, it's been very satisfying, very rewarding. And particularly at Yes Bank, the last 8.5 years have been absolutely magnificent in seeing this little baby bank, come up the way it has, to acquire institutional character, a pan-India outreach, headcount of over 6,000 professional executives with the owner, manager, partner ethos. So it's been very, very satisfying.
But the switch from being a professional to an entrepreneur, what was that like?
As a professional executive, there are many wonderful things that happen in a very programmed and predetermined manner at times. You're working within certain boundaries. At the same time, if there is a pent-up desire to be an entrepreneur, to make it on your own, then the transition from a professional executive, in my case, to an entrepreneur was a relatively easy crossover, because I was somehow not doing enough as an executive, and I had this burning desire to really move on and do something on my own. And that dream was basically to create, a financial services institution, and it happened in two phases in my case. First one was more like a build, own, operate, transfer model, where I really worked as an entrepreneur on behalf of a Dutch bank who wanted to establish their presence in India, and that got transferred at a time when I got the banking license. So it's a very good feeling, to really emerge as an entrepreneur. And I wish I had started at least 10-15 years before it.
When people become entrepreneurs, or did at that time, and even today, they think about manufacturing, they think about technology. When you think about starting a bank, that takes an entirely different kind of courage and perhaps vision altogether.
See, my basic grounding at Bank of America, where I spent 16 years, was predominantly in commercial mid-market banking, with exposure to a relatively small retail bank. At least in India it was small, but in US and California state, and at one time it was the largest retail bank in the world. My transition into investment banking was because I felt that I needed to really hone my skills, to develop skills for sunrise sectors in India, for project finance, structured finance, for M&A, because those were the needs of the hour in India, which had begun to reform in the early 90s. So investment banking skills are very important for a banker to acquire, and I think that was like entrepreneurship on the job for me. So I honestly really enjoyed my assignment with ANZ Grindlays as the head of investment banking for about 2.5 years, and then I continued in a semi-investment banking format at Rabo India Finance between 98 until almost end of 2003.
And even convince them to take a large stake in the bank that you formed.
Yeah, I mean, it was, on
So you don't really burn bridges either as you go along. You're very good at relationships as well.
Well, end of the day, if you have to be a successful entrepreneur, building a network, business, social, and otherwise, and keeping very strong relationships, strong interpersonal, is a very important ingredient. So I have, through my 33 years now in banking, tried to maintain if not deepen, relationships. So yes, my ex-partner Rabobank did come into Yes Bank. They made a killing on the stock. Now they are fully out, having made about $400 million of gains. They did pretty well.
Yeah, they did very well, no doubt about that. When you started the bank, when you had a vision, you had partners, you had family with you, you faced loss. How did you manage to go on?
See, to begin
because
with,
it was a kind of joint vision to start a bank.
Not really, actually. The bank was a lot to do with, me and a professional team. Because it was conceived, with the breath of fresh air as a non-legacy institution with a lot of, energy, I would say contagious energy, and in an institutionalized sense. So from day one, I was given a free hand by the board, by my investors, institutional and otherwise, to really conceive the bank.
There was a time in 2008, 2009, it's a tough phase for the banking industry. But at that time you decided to be even more aggressive. Is one of the reasons you're this aggressive in terms of your growth and expansion is because you don't have many legacy issues?
Well, 2008-9 was a period where you could just wilt away or disappear or come out with strategies which were somewhat contrarian to market behavior. So I and my top management team, we brainstormed and we felt that there was opportunity in adversity. Economic conditions were not great, but there was quantitative easing even in India, both fiscal and monetary, as we know. And at the same time, cost structures fell. There was a lot of good talent which was available. And we used that window to really rediscover our growth path as in investing in infrastructure, as in building a larger platform of people and sowing the seeds for Yes Bank to emerge as a retail bank. And steadily, I have reason to believe that that confidence led by the teams at Yes Bank has also migrated into customer confidence in Yes Bank. Because that's the period, 8, 9 and a couple of years thereafter as well, when we got our best breaks with the best of clients.
And that's also, of course, one of the advantages of being a new young bank, lack of baggage in a sense. But taking that forward, you said yes to a lot of customers that perhaps other banks would have turned away.
At Yes Bank, the strategy that I conceived at the very early stages was to go and look at sunrise sectors. Was basically to build a vision around a new India, a new basket of growth. To really not look at being a legacy, universal bank, but a bank with a differentiation. So our differentiation really was reflected in our ability to identify sunrise sectors like food and agribusiness, very important sector in the country, healthcare, education, tourism and hospitality, renewable energy, telecom. We liked 2G, but we didn't touch 3G. We had zero exposure. Sports, you gave an illustration of sports banking. Now, it's a very big business in some parts of the world. So we, I think, intuitively read the writing on the wall and became bankers to IPL and to other regional cricket associations. And over a period of time, the bank has been able to also prepare a good base because sports are very critical to very young India. And therefore, we are investing in spaces that are very critical. And this is defined as knowledge banking at Yes Bank. So it's part of our knowledge-driven strategy to be diagnostic, prescriptive in certain sunrise sectors of the economy. And the best part is that if you go back the last 8+ years now, that the asset quality of the bank has been literally unblemished and has been preserved through 2 very severe cycles for a bank which is only 8 years old.
Your relationships that you built over your professional life, have they made a huge difference when you started your bank? Naturally, to some extent.
Relationships are very important, door openers, but they work only when they get institutionalized. So if I know someone, if I know Devna, I have to make sure she opens a Yes First account, which is the wealth account at Yes Bank. Only then is the relationship going to get institutionalized with Yes Bank. As I mentioned to you, today bankers need to be good money doctors, very diagnostic and and prescriptive.
You've yourself described yourself as being hands-on and getting into the nitty-gritty of situations. Do you feel sometimes perhaps you run the risk of micromanaging things at Yes Bank?
No, I believe that there is a phase in the life cycle of building an institution, and in my case it happens to be a bank, that the entrepreneurship lies in detail. So you can't expect, the CEO, the founder CEO of the bank, to be just driving vision and strategy.
Not yet.
To actualize vision and strategy is very important to get into the trenches, to get your hands dirty, your feet wet, and mentor teams of people, build a homogeneous culture in an institution. And I think it's very important to be part of the execution process in institutional building.
So, apart from doing your work at Yes Bank, you're very visible otherwise in terms of industry representation. Is it very important today to be visible, to be the face of your bank to succeed?
No, absolutely, Devna, because in building an institution, you have to sacrifice literally, and sacrifice family, sacrifice time, and in the process it's very important to really bring out your best and blend that with the needs of the institution. So I have strong reason to believe that as a young organization assumes, an institutional character, the leader has to be a very good evangelist and also ensure that in the process, the overall architecture of the bank, of the institution is getting institutionalized. So it's very important to dovetail the experience of the brand, the personality, and the institution, and merge that into something that becomes enduring and sustainable and widens and deepens across a larger institutional team. In our case, for example, we have over 52 people in top management now with an average age of 43, so it's a very young dynamic bank. So it's very important that we adopt, a certain character, and the character has to be a very homogeneous character in a very heterogeneous country called India.
No, but yourself as well, being as visible as you are, you're also known to be very savvy with your marketing of your bank. You're very open about it and quite forward and aggressive about what you want for your bank. And
we have had the additional challenge of building a brand out of a difficult name called Yes. Others have had, easier choices, some on a silver platter included, So we have a challenge, and brand building is the sigma of all your actions, revenue actions, risk actions, system actions. They all equate into eventually the brand, because the brand has to create the pulling forces. So yes, you have to be a good salesman, you have to be a good marketeer, you also have to be a very good risk manager in banking, you have to be a very good system manager in banking, you have to be a very good technologist, you have to be a very good economist. If you miss out on any of these connecting points, there will be weaknesses in institutional building. So these things necessarily need to all connect and result into, the institutional brand. And I hope that in the next 3 years, by 2015, as we get to the closure of version 2 and embark on version 3.0 in 2015, that we should be one of the best recognized financial services brands in India, so that the business comes in literally like a fast moving consumer good business.
You know, after 33 years in the banking industry, in the financial services industry, you talk like an MBA student. Your lingo, the way you sort of think about the future, it's almost as if you've just graduated out of business school and you've come out with these sort of terms and these dreams. How do you keep yourself so young?
You know, I tell you very candidly that every day for me is a learning, something new. And I learned something in management behavior, in organizational conduct, in some facet of my professional development. There is not a single day that goes by where I don't learn at least one new thing. Most days I learn, minimum 3 to 5 new things. You need to stay abreast of developments. There are so many innovations happening in banking, on customer servicing, technology, for example. The risk metrics keep on altering. Banks, as you know, are macroeconomic plays. So you have to be very much in tune with, cycles, seasons.
So you talked earlier about version 2.0. I'm just lifting some of the quotes from that version. Orbit changing strategy. Break away from the pack of mid-sized banks. You've also said the branches will expand to 750, ATMs to 3,000, employees to 12,000. These are just some of the, these are huge numbers given where the bank is today.
On the version 2.0. It started in April 2010. So as we stand in November 2012, we are halfway done. So on most of our quantitative objectives, including qualitative, we are almost halfway done. Question is, what next? We have to build scale. We have to invest in infrastructure, which means more branches, to add far more human resources, very good talent in sales, service and operations across pan-India. We are already present in 26 out of 28 states, and the remaining 2 will happen before Christmas. The vision is to build the best quality bank of the world in India by 2020 latest, if not sooner. To build an institutional ethos, call it a legacy, which is defined by the Professionals Bank of India, and that should be the DNA and the character of the organization. Along with that comes size and scale. We do expect to be a very good medium-sized bank by 2015, bordering on becoming a larger bank, and most definitely, unless there are force majeure developments, by 2020 we should be one of the larger banks in the country. To put a number to it, we should be about $100 billion in total assets, depending on the exchange rates then.
Clearly you do have very focused goals, even in terms of your numbers, which is, I have to say, unlike most people I know, and most people say that when you focus this much on numbers, somewhere along the way you can make mistakes in trying to reach those numbers.
No, I believe that when we set realistic goals over slightly longer time frames, that there can be changes in gear. You can't be in Formula 1 all the time. You have to once in a while also slow down, as we have over the last 18 months. But that doesn't mean the visibility on our financial objectives or our qualitative objectives is going to be compromised. Because there is, for a bank like ours, which is just about 1% of market share in the country, there is always opportunity in adversity.
Yeah.
I would say by far the best opportunity is in adversity.
Which is what a lot of very successful people believe in.
Yeah, because we can chip in to market share, where when other banks are in a state of introspection or changing strategies dramatically because of home country decisions to compress in emerging markets. For us, it's an opportunity to go to those clients and say that we are there with you, because our model is a home country model.
Yeah.
And if you see in our country, yes, GDP has slowed down, but there are parts of the country, there are geographies where the country is growing at 7, 8, 10, 12%.
Yeah.
So we have to also cherry pick the opportunity in a vast heterogeneous country like ours.
Yeah.
And I personally believe that the real entrepreneurial models in banking will warrant that in the future, rather than, you know, people sitting back and waiting, you know, for the economy to improve.
To be as successful as you are, what you would say to people trying to be successful?
I think, you know, most of all, visualize to actualize. I personally believe that having very strong grasping skills, making decisions right or wrong is extremely important, and then having problem solving skills that when you go wrong, you also correct the problems, but you must make decisions. The others are pretty much, you know, dedication, sincerity, commitment, you know, the ability to spot the opportunity at the right time. So I think these are some of the abilities that, you know, you need to overcome some of the economic challenges and challenges of entrepreneurship. But I truly believe that the harder you work, the luckier you get, and that's when really even the divine forces come and help you.
You know, you seem to sort of eat, breathe, live this company.
Yes, yes, Bank. Yeah, right.
You're also someone who takes it home with him.
Yeah.
You're not someone who leaves it behind. And
no, I enjoy my work. It's my hobby. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Work is a lot of fun. It's also de-stressing. It's you know, basically balancing your right brain, you know, the creative part with the left brain, your analytical part. You know, you get that opportunity in banking.
yeah.
It's a great profession, and especially when the institution is as enterprising as Yes Bank is in responding to market needs and market behavior, then it becomes a bundle of joy that at least I thrive on. It's a lot of fun.
And your approach to sort of making money, since you've put such clear numbers on what the bank needs to achieve, do you have, you know, sort of personal focus for yourself as well?
You know, I actually don't look at my personal, you know, balance sheet too often. I'll tell you very candidly that, you know, wealth creation is a spin-off benefit.
Sure.
But the creativity of institutional building, of being a professional entrepreneur and being able to mentor and evangelize that with hundreds of people within the bank, and increasingly now with far more public participation, to be able to share that and cascade that across a lot more people in colleges and universities and build an entrepreneurial cult, take professionals and tell them to get into building a business, is really one of my missions in life. Probably has become a very important personal goal for me, to see our country emerge on entrepreneurship, lots of young people, you know, set up their own businesses, and be able to show that India is also one of the most innovative economies of the whole world. We have by far the best talent, hardworking talent, and it's only a matter of time when this is converted into contagious energy, and I hope one day into spiraling entrepreneurship.
And I hope that a lot of people have as much faith and drive as you do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Surely they are.